I'm going to say something that I think a lot of people who move abroad already know, but don't want to admit. You didn't move because you fell in love with the country. You moved because part of you believed that if you moved to a new location, you would change your life, maybe even change yourself. I know that's why I moved. But the issue is that when I arrived to Naples with my luggage, I didn't just leave all my issues back in California. So they all came with me. It's just that now I got to deal with my issues and have better pizza. I'm Amby. I've been living in Naples, Italy since 2022, and I make honest YouTube videos every week about life in southern Italy. You can also connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. My handles are at Amby on Instagram and TikTok, and then on Spotify, it's Amby Naples, so you can listen to the show on the go. Before moving to Naples, Italy, I was living in Southern California, and I was the epitome of like the American hustle culture dream. I graduated from UC Berkeley. I was also a model. I had a product on shelves in 70 retailers in California. I was dating my college sweetheart. Ugh, I'm exhausted just saying this all. I was very, very good at performing a person who seemed to have it all together, but inside something was not sitting right with me. Out of the blue, I had a quarter life crisis. I broke up with my long-term boyfriend, basically just blew up my life, fled to Europe, and then while I was in Italy, I happened to meet a very handsome man at a pasta lunch. We fell in love, and then I decided, F it, I'm moving to Italy. And this feels so stupid to say, but at the time, I genuinely believed, and I think most people who are making the move believe that making that move is just gonna change everything. Like, as if just moving physical locations is the work. Honey, you gotta do the real work. Here's what the fantasy looks like. And I know you know this because either you've lived this or you're building the fantasy in your head right now. In the fantasy, you arrive in Italy, you slow down, you learn the language, you create a new circle of friends, you say hi to your local fruttivendolo, you stop checking your phone all the time, you become more present, you become a more authentic version of yourself. Eat, pray, love, yada, yada, yada. That fantasy is beautiful, and some of it is even true. Like, depending on where you are, the pace of life may be slower. Naples, I wouldn't say, is necessarily a slow pace. It is in some regards, it isn't in other regards. But the city is very real. It doesn't try to perform for you, it just is what it is, and there's such an amazing energy here. We say the Napoli cuore, which is like Napoli heart. I would describe it as the city has a soul. It's very difficult to describe unless you come here for yourself. But here's what the fantasy leaves out. The fantasy assumes that the things making you unhappy, restless, unsatisfied are external things, like your job, your location, your partner, etc. You believe that if you change your city, your routine, all of that unhappiness, that angst will just magically go away. What I found out in a very Naples way, which is kind of abrupt and a slap in your face, is that when you leave your old country, you happily come along with your luggage, you settle into your new country, you might be chilling for a moment, but then give it a week, you turn around and you realize your old emotional baggage is sitting on the couch waiting for you, like a friend that you didn't invite to stay, but it just, surprise, I'm here, bitch. Let me be specific because I want this video to be genuinely useful. I moved to Naples telling myself that I was choosing a different life. And that was true. There was a lot of different things about my new life. However, what I failed to acknowledge to myself was that I was exhausted from just the pressure of the life that I had built and the goals I had created for myself. And I felt like I was just constantly performing, and my value, like my intrinsic value of a human being, was tied to what I was able to produce. And I may have used my old circumstances as a scapegoat to, instead of like actually dealing with what was going on. When I moved, what I expected was relief, but instead I got nothing. Where all of that busyness and hustle was, there was just suddenly replaced with nothing. And then I slowly got anxiety. It turned out that busyness wasn't the problem, it was the solution. Busyness was a thing, the tool that I was using to not feel this thing underneath. So Italy took away the solution, and then I just waited. This is not in most expat content. Nobody films this. I didn't even film this when I was going through it. But I think it's really important to discuss. So what actually came with me on the plane? What showed up even though I thought I left it at LAX? The need to be productive. I didn't know how to sit still. It was something that I maybe had never done in like my whole life. So when I moved to Naples, Italy, I immediately signed up for an intensive Italian course, which is useful and it's good for getting structure and getting out of the house. And now I can speak Italian, which is awesome. But I didn't just stop there. No, I would do Italian school, then I would walk home and I would have like a moment of relaxation, and then I would get on my laptop and I would start applying for jobs, or I would be working doing residential landscape designs for clients. I was teaching children about sustainability. I was still on the laptop a lot because it made me feel like I had something to do and I had value. But looking back at that time, I kind of regret how I approached that, because I could have at least taken a month to just soak in being in Naples, being in a new country. I could have relaxed on the terrace and read a book. I don't know if I read a single book that month. And I just think it was a lost opportunity. So if I could go back in time, I would do it differently. Another issue I had was asking others for help, because I wasn't used to being dependent on other people. In America, I really prided myself on being a strong, independent woman. I think most people who know me back home would say I'm a very competent person. But in Italy, I just felt so incompetent. I was like, oh my God, I can't speak the language. I have the literacy of a toddler. I can barely get my own groceries. I can't read a menu. I don't know what this thing is. And I can't drive. I need my boyfriend to take me everywhere on the back of the scooter. And it was really, really frustrating to come to terms with that. But now, I can't say I've fully gotten over that. I think I still value my independence. I think most women probably do. But I'm at least getting better at being softer and allowing others to help, and like acknowledging like when I need to ask for help. None of those things are Italy problems. Now, those are things I was probably dealing with my whole life, but being in Italy made it impossible to ignore those issues. And so I had to deal with them. So here's the part where I'm supposed to tell you that Italy fixed everything and now I'm a new person. Woo! No, it didn't. What Italy did was remove my ability to avoid the work. That is different from doing the work for me. When you can't distract yourself with a packed social calendar because you don't have friends yet, and you can't perform or charm your way through a situation because you don't even know the language and you can't even keep up with what they're saying at dinner, you are forced to either sit there with yourself or fall apart. I did some of both, and slowly, over months, maybe years, honestly, I finally gave myself enough space and stillness. That part was thanks to being in Italy, that I was able to start to do the work to address some of the issues that I was carrying. The productivity anxiety didn't just disappear. Honestly, I'm still working through it, but I've gotten a lot better at taking breaks and not kind of mentally punishing myself when I realize that I need to take some time off and disconnect. And I make sure that I have time every weekend to unplug and just be present in where I am. The issue with asking for help, struggling and feeling like a beginner, I've gotten better at that. I'm getting more comfortable with asking for help, and that's cool. It's important. So how have I been working through these issues? Shadow work, journaling, EFT tapping, meditation, just sitting in stillness. I have a lot more free time in Italy in respect to what I had in SoCal. That is the actual magic of what moving to Italy does. It's not like a magic wand that washes your problems away. It's time and enforced honesty. And I don't want you to walk away from this video thinking that the move isn't worth it. It is. For me, I would move to Naples, Italy all over again. But I also don't want you to come in with the notion that the place is going to do the work for you. If you move to Italy with the expectation that a new city will make you a new person, you will spend the first year going through this beautiful country, but feeling vaguely cheated because you'll be in a gorgeous place, a new environment, but you'll still be you. But instead, if you move with the idea, acknowledging that you are bringing all of you, the good and the bad, and the goal is to have enough space to actually work on yourself, then Naples, or wherever you are, becomes something different. It becomes a place where you stopped running fast enough to actually arrive. If you're new here, I'm Amby. I make videos every week about honest life as a foreigner in southern Italy. And you can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at AmbyMuther, or you can listen to the show on the go at Spotify at Amby in Naples. I'll see you next week. Ciao.